Hello, and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. Thank you for joining us on our Nurse Shark Academy page on Facebook and our Baxter Professional Services page on Facebook, and also on our YouTube channel, the Nurse Shark Academy. Let's get into it. Today is Wednesday, September the 18th, 2024. Very excited for this week. Lots of great things happening. Let's start off with our affirmation for the day. With the universe as my partner, I go from success to success. I share this harvest of good with others, and we are all blessed. With the universe as my partner, I go from success to success. I share this harvest of good with others, and we are all blessed. All right, so really quick announcement. Today at 6:30, we will be meeting for our Anderson Lightable Alliance meeting. We're having our munch and mingle. We'll be meeting at Scampy's at 6:30. So if you're in the Anderson area and you would like to join us at our Alignable event, come join us over at Scampy's at 6:30 tonight. We'll be having some dinner and then discussing how we can support one another in business. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there today. Let's go ahead and get started with our news. Here's our first story for today. CHG closing RN network travel nurse business. CHG Healthcare is closing its travel nurse division, RN Network. The move was announced September the 10th, and the CHG said it will work to support providers and clients through March 2025 when RN Network officially shuts down. The company said the closure of RN Network will enable it to strengthen its focus on locum tenens and allied professional staffing, as well as healthcare technology. CHG ranks as the fourth largest healthcare staffing firm in the U.S. overall, according to SIA research. It ranks as the number one largest locum tenens staffing provider based on revenue, but it ranks 17th largest in travel nurse revenue. News of RN Network's closure comes as U.S. travel nurse revenue is forecast to fall by 30% this year after a decline of 36% in 2023. Travel nurse revenue had surged during the pandemic, rising by 162% in 2021 alone. So as we've talked about before, some of those lucrative travel contracts that you were able to get may no longer be available and apply. CHG said it has found new positions for nearly 100 RN Network employees. However, approximately 115 people will be laid off. They stated, quote, "We wish we could keep everyone at RN Network employed within the company." Leslie Snavely, CEO of CHG Healthcare, said in a press release, "During this difficult time, we're doing everything we can to help our team members land on their feet, from severance pay to insurance coverage to job placement services. We wish our people success as they move to the next phase of their careers." CHG acquired RN Network in 1998, and the company said it has placed tens of thousands of nurses and providers since. An announcement on RN Network's website said recruiters are reaching out to nurses and providers with details on how the company will support them. While it's difficult to close RN Network, we are confident it's the right decision as we help our healthcare clients and support our physicians and allied professionals through every stage of their careers. We're accelerating the growth of our core business and continuing to invest in the people, technology, and tools that make it easier for our providers and clients to care for patients. So just a little bit of news, travel nurse news. There you go. Right here in the good old state of Indiana, it says former state officials file Medicaid fraud whistleblower lawsuit against insurers and hospitals. This is from IPB News. Two former state officials filed a whistleblower lawsuit that alleged several Indiana hospital systems and managed care entities committed, quote, tens, likely hundreds of millions of dollars in Medicaid fraud. The former officials filed the lawsuit in early 2021 when they obtained access to analysis from Indiana's fraud and abuse detection system contractor IBM Watson Health. The case was sealed until earlier this year. The lawsuit alleges four companies in charging of managing Indiana Medicaid knowingly and improperly misused millions in Medicaid funds to pay claims that violate billing requirements. It also said six hospital systems obtained millions in funds by submitting thousands of false claims to Medicaid. The complaint was filed on behalf of the state and the federal government by John McCullough, the former director of the program Integrity for Indiana Medicaid, and James Holden, the former chief deputy and general counsel in the office of the Indiana State Treasurer. McCullough served in that role from 2014 to 2017 and attended regular meetings with the managed care entity defendants and the hospital defendants. The lawsuit said that the program integrity team and IBM Watson regularly met with the defendants and reminded them of their obligation to detect, prevent, and recoup improper Medicaid payments from false claims. It also said they're advised on how to do so. The lawsuit focuses on false claims related to three specific areas. The first area is false claims related to readmissions, hospital transfers, and 24-hour stays. These included claims where two separate inpatient claims were filed when a patient was readmitted within 72 hours for the same condition. Another type of claim in this area is when a claim did not have a transfer status for patients that went to another hospital. The transferring hospital is supposed to receive a prorated daily rate rather than the full amount the receiving hospital gets. It also includes claims when a patient was marked as inpatient for a hospital stay under 24 hours, the outpatient rate is lower. The second area is false claims that were clearly unallowable due to the claim being for services marked as being provided after a patient has died, or a duplicate claim. The third area is false claims for chiropractic, dental, and opioid treatments. In these cases, a separate claim might be submitted for a service that should have been included in another service. So, for example, a dental extraction is expected to have sutures, but a false claim might have been filed for the sutures separate from the extraction. These areas apply to both managed care entities, defendants that are misusing Medicaid funds for these false claims, and the hospitals that were obtaining the Medicaid funds for these false claims. Okay, so according to the lawsuit, the defendants were aware of the obligation to prevent or deny claims that violate basic hospital billing rules. So while the report is not available to the public, it is provided directly to the Indiana's Medicaid Integrity Team. The complaint said between 2011 and 2020, less than 1% of the recoupment demands based on IBM Watson's analysis were overturned on appeal. In 2017, the lawsuit said a senior executive at Indiana Medicaid improperly directed the program integrity team to significantly curtail its efforts to utilize IBM Watson's analysis and findings to recoup improper Medicaid overpayments by the defendants. The lawsuit pointed to political pressure from lobbyists for the health insurers and the hospitals. It also said this misconduct contributed to last year's $1 billion budget shortfall. The managed care entity defendants include Anthem, MDWise, CareSource, and Coordinated Care, which operates as Managed Health Services or MHS. The hospital defendants include IU Health, Ascension, Community Health, Lutheran Health, Parkview Health, and Eskenazi, which is a public hospital division of the Health and Hospital Corporation of Marion County. If the lawsuit is successful, the state and federal government could recover 3 times the total amount of damages. So this can be very costly. So again, having someone who can do really good billing and knows what they're doing and taking the time for that can potentially save you a lot of money. So yeah. So check into that story if you want to hear more. Hopefully they'll bring out more information on the details. There is some detail on the lawsuit itself in the story. If you wanted to pull that information, they did upload the entire complaint. If you want to pull that complaint, it is a matter of public record, the complaint. So you can always pull that up from the website. All right, let's get to our next story. This happens to be out of Hawaii. We've been covering what's been happening in Hawaii. The nurses there have been going on strike and things like that. And let's see what's going on. So Governor and Kapailani Medical Center respond as nurses march over lockout. Dozens of nurses from Kapiolani Medical Center for Women and Children marched through downtown Honolulu Tuesday, having been locked out by the hospital for a fourth day. The lockout began Saturday morning after roughly 600 nurses, represented by the Hawaii Nurses Association, tried to return to work following a one-day strike to protest unfair labor practices during a prolonged contracted dispute with the hospital. Hospital officials said they won't let them back in the building until the union accepts a deal currently on the table. So now, because the nurses opted to have this strike, the hospital is basically saying either you take what's on the table or we won't let you back in the building. So let's see what's going on there. We have always given our all for our patients, but now the hospital has created an ethical dilemma for the nurses. The only way we can continue to provide care for our patients is to agree to a contract that sanctions and institutionalizes a lower standard of patient care and puts our professional licenses in jeopardy, said H&A President Rosalie Agnes Yu. Nurses have been without a contract since November of 2023, and the union staged a one-week strike in February. Both sides remain divided over safe staffing levels. Gidget Rashuda, RN, Kapiolani Medical Center Chief Operating Officer, said in a statement, "Our focus is our patients as we continue to provide uninterrupted care for our community. We're scheduled to meet with the Hawaiian Nurses Association again on Thursday. We will go into these talks with the same goal that we have had since we started negotiations more than a year ago to reach an agreement for our nurses." A delegation of nurses attempted to meet with Governor Josh Green at the Hawaii State Capitol. While he was not available, the governor expressed his support for both sides and said there's room for agreement. So we will see what happens going on. It says Green said he is legally prohibited from intervening in private negotiations, but noted now if both parties, both the nurses and the administration, ask a governor or ask me in this case to help to negotiate, I'd be honored to because this is allowed. From the Capitol, nurses marched to Hawaii Pacific Health offices on Merchant Street, demanding unsuccessfully to speak with CEO Ray Vera. While Kapiolani Medical Center is an affiliate of Hawaii Pacific Health, the healthcare system is not involved in the negotiations as the nurses' contract is directly with the hospital. So therein lies some of the issues with this. We'll keep an eye on what happens in Hawaii. Now, we had talked about this before because people were saying, oh, the Hawaiian nurses get paid really well. Yes, but their cost of living is so high. So this is a part of the issue there. And then they're really trying to put in unsafe staffing mandates. And so the union is pushing back on that. So we will see what's happening with this. We're going to go to our next story before we take a brief break. This is coming from ALM Benefits Pro. So it says healthcare is top of mind as voters prepare to head to the polls. So it's just curious. Again, we try to stay above the political fray as much as we can. But when it comes to issues of healthcare, we want to talk about it. So here's what we have. It says in their poll, it says in their new eHealth survey, healthcare will be one of the top 3 issues in the upcoming election. However, several of the findings were unexpected by researchers. The survey report said we uncovered a surprising amount of agreement across party lines. For example, nearly all respondents are shocked at the increase in their healthcare costs over the past 4 years, and insurance premiums are a pain point for many. Among their top 3 priorities, respondents want the next president to address medical costs in general, and specifically the cost of prescription drugs. And I have to say, it has been a problem. As a clinician, I have seen the high cost of prescription drugs and it's affected my own family. And then on top of that, the treatments that we know will be effective for the patient, sometimes we can't get them on those treatments because of the cost. And so they have to go to a medication that may not be as effective, but will be covered by the insurance because there's no way for them to pay for that additional cost. And sometimes we're talking about medication that will be in the thousands of dollars. So among the highlights of the survey, again, healthcare is a top voting priority. More than 8 in 10 say healthcare is either their top priority at 35% or among their top three at 50%. Americans are alarmed by healthcare cost inflation. So the past 4 years, 88% say are shocked by how much their healthcare costs have increased. Among these, 72% cited increased health insurance premiums, while 49% mentioned higher prescription drug costs. Voters' healthcare priorities don't always match political talking points. Survey respondents said that the next president's top three healthcare priorities should be ensuring the sustainability of Medicare, cited by 59%, addressing the cost of medical care generally, 57%, and addressing the cost of prescription drugs at 50%. Hot topics such as abortion access and vaccine safety range much lower, cited by 28% and 9%, respectively. 60% say that they would support the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. Only 26% did not support the repeal, while the majorities of both Democrat and Republican voters said they would support it. Overall, more than 8 in 10, including majorities of both Democrat and Republican voters, say they support the idea of a single government-run healthcare system for all Americans. So what they're saying is maybe they don't like what the Obamacare because it doesn't do enough. The Affordable Care Act, it doesn't do enough. But they do support the idea of having a single government-run healthcare system for everyone. So that's quite an interesting take. Again, this is ALM Global. So just letting you know, if you want to read this and get more information about it, head on over there. Because that was interesting to find that report, and it'd be good to see if we can get the whole report and see what else they found. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll get back to the news. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. I specialize in working with nurses and other health professionals who want to reduce burnout, pessimism, and compassion fatigue. So you can become a successful entrepreneur to reclaim the love you have for your profession and to create a fulfilling and prosperous life. Join the Nurse Shark Academy at thenurseSharkAcademy.biz and come feel the sun, providing a clear path for business success. All right, let's get back into the news here. This I found kind of interesting. This is an article about a nurse who made a decision to make a job switch. This is on Newsweek. It says, nurse quits job and switches careers, triples her income, and it was the best decision. Cammie, 37, worked as a bone marrow transplant nurse for more than a decade. Her work involved 3 12-hour shifts every week. Her days started at 5 a.m. and usually she wasn't back home until after 8 p.m. While she loved the value of nursing, she told Newsweek that she knew there was a better way to make a living. She could do the long hours as a young 20-something, but the idea of still having to do that in her 50s and 60s was a daunting prospect. And can I just stop there and say this? I think in a way, we've really made it difficult for nurses to stay at the bedside. 12-hour shifts are not sustainable for everyone. There are people who love 12-hour shifts. I remember when it was introduced and we were sold, you work 3 days, you're off 4 days. You work 4 days, you off 3 days. And it'd be great and wonderful. But then on your days off, you're so exhausted, you can't do anything. And they call you into work anyway. So you end up working 5 12s or, and so it can be very difficult. And I wish there was a better way for us to do staffing. I like the idea of 8-hour days. I like the idea of maybe mixing in like 4 to 6 hour shifts if you can. And so people can choose how they want to work. I think there's a way that we can make the staffing work for everyone. And if you're older and you don't want to have to work those long, grueling 12-hour shifts, it would be nice if you had an 8 or 4-hour shift that you could pick from. Just some thoughts. We need to be more creative in our staffing and let it be okay. Let it be okay. So anyway, she goes on to say, I distinctly remember looking at other nurses I worked with who were my mom's age, and I refused to be doing this job when I was their age. Working as a nurse is too hard, stressful, and hard on your body to do it for a long time. In 2020, She became serious about finding a new venture, knowing that she wanted something that didn't require returning to school for a new qualification. She started looking into mobile home parks and storage units for a business that she could buy, but when she found her laundromat space, she knew it was for her. I remained working as a nurse for the next 3 years while owning it, so it's very difficult to manage both schedules at the same time. I also started pickup and delivery services 6 months after buying it. This is where we drive out into the community and pick up laundry, bring it back to the laundromat, where my employees will wash, fold, and then return it a few days later. This side of the business now brings in more revenue than the original self serve does. And let's think about that. There are several people out there that do not have the time to do their laundry, or maybe they're older, they can't physically do it any longer. So, this would be a great service. She said it was a monumental shift to make in her life, but Cami says she's never regretted her decision to buy the laundromat. She continued working as a nurse until 2023, which meant 12-hour shifts at the hospital and then trips to the laundromat after work. It was a challenge to juggle both careers simultaneously, but she knew it would eventually pay off. The pickup and delivery took a long time to grow and was a leap of faith that it would work, Cami told Newsweek. During the time it was growing, I was at my laundromat every day and was often help folding laundry to make sure the deliveries would get out on time. Now that she can focus on the laundromat, Cami says her work-life balance is so much better than it was before. Despite working fewer hours, she's also making 3 times more than she did as a nurse, including a $25,000 profit some months. She's been documenting the new way of life on TikTok, which has helped her to gain plenty of support from followers. A video posted on August the 31st about the best decision she ever made has gone viral with over 7.7 million views and more than 844,200 likes to date. It's been an overwhelmingly positive experience to date, and Cami hopes to encourage others to take risks and embrace new challenges. So again, just a thought, this is a nurse that found a different way, wasn't able to continue in nursing the way she wanted to, and found a way to make money. Now, is she going to come back to nursing? We don't know. But I congratulate her. And this is what I'm talking about. You can take those nursing skills that you have and make it into a viable business. All right, let's talk about this. This is the next story. We're going over to Canada from the Canadian Press. Nurse-patient ratios at BC hospitals to expand this fall, says Health Minister. British Columbia Health Minister Adrian Dix says minimum nurse-to-patient ratios meant to improve care and strengthen the healthcare system have now been established for most hospital settings. He says that the nurse-to-patient ratios have been determined for more hospital settings, including emergency departments, maternity units, and operating rooms. Dix says that the hospital program is a part of a 4-year government plan announced last March with a target of hiring more than 8,000 nurses. He says that the nurse-to-patient ratios, the first of their kind in Canada, were reached with the BC Nurses Union and set emergency department figures at 1 nurse for every 3 patients in general emergency and 1 nurse for every patient in trauma incidents. The nurse ratio numbers come as the government announced earlier this week that about 248,000 people have connected with a family doctor or nurse practitioner through the province's Health Connect online registry. But it also comes as emergency room physicians at Surrey Memorial Hospital say in a letter sent to the president of the Fraser Health Authority that conditions there continue to deteriorate. So again, keep an eye on that if you're in Canada. And maybe we can do something similar to in the U.S. and really help the struggling nurses there. And I'm going to say I'm glad that they're doing it for hospitals, but let's not forget other patient care areas too. The nurses need help. Okay, coming back to the good old USA, we're going to talk about what's happening in Michigan. Nurses organize a walk as a sign of solidarity. Nurses walked together in a solidarity on Monday afternoon, September the 16th. Registered nurses from McLaren hospitals organized the walk in Flint. The walk took place as the hospital and nurses union negotiated a new contract. The current contract is set to expire at the end of September. The walk happened along Beecher Road. The union built this country, and we're here to stay, and we need to have a fair contract, said Kelly Indish, president of AFSME Local 857 Union. McLaren's registered nurses and other local unions banded together as members of Local 875 work to get a contract to the table that makes nurses feel more supported and less overwhelmed. The union is hoping to avoid burnout and retain nurses. Indish said she wants to see improvements in the health insurance offered to employees. Again, we're coming back to health insurance, high premiums, etc. We work for a medical corporation. They set their monthly premiums for their insurance. We have to use their facilities, and we feel that we should get some better coverage. Well, that's a thing. Isn't that kind of? I'm thinking about that. Wouldn't that be a little unethical to force your employees to use your own facility for their care? I don't know. Where's the power of choice in that? I'm just asking a question. So if you're in the health insurance industry, or you're a nurse and you work for McLaren or other hospitals that require this, tell me how you feel about that, because I've never actually worked at a hospital where I was forced to use their hospital for my care. Um, Obviously we did, but it wasn't forced on us. It was a choice that we made, because we really liked the doctors that they had there. So yeah, it never occurred to me that they would force employees to use their own hospital, because wouldn't this be in their own interest? They're fostering things for their own interest. I don't know. Let me know what you think, because yeah, it never occurred to me. So it says we feel like we're paying more for not getting if not getting less for our money. So they increase our premium, so we actually have to pay out of pocket, said Erin Bryant, a staff nurse. The union has been in talks with McLaren, with the deadline approaching. The contract expires at the end of September and covers about 850 workers. A vote to authorize a strike took place Monday night, and nurses like Erin Bryant and Indish said they're expected members to approve it. We worked through the pandemic with staffing shortages. We've been through a lot of it with this hospital. We love working at McLaren, but we feel like we just deserve to be treated fairly. We're going to get a strike vote that's pretty close to 100% yes. Then I'm hoping McLaren will come back to the table and be serious about getting a contract. So we'll keep an eye on this and see what they've come up with, and see if they're actually going to go on strike. Okay, so this is our last story, and I just happened on it, and I did not know that this had actually occurred. So this is from U.S. News, Metro News, and I did not know any of it. I didn't hear this story, and maybe some of you did, or just let me know. But it says, the shadow of death nurse who killed her patients in secret. And so a nurse, Elizabeth Wetlaufer. Okay. So she was far from an angel of mercy, said Superior Court Justice Bruce Thomas when he sentenced Elizabeth Wetlaufer to a life behind bars. Instead, she was a shadow of death that passed over her victims. Elizabeth Wetlaufer remains one of the worst serial killers in Canadian history. I hadn't heard of this. So this is why I said, wait, what? Armed with an insulin. Wait a minute, I'm making this. There we go. I made it too big and I couldn't see it. It says armed with an insulin. Wait a minute. Yeah, insulin pen. The nurse secretly targeted frail hospital patients between 2007 and 2016 and left them for dead. Wetlaufer hinted to friends about being responsible for deaths, but they never believed her, thinking she couldn't be capable of such a thing. It was only when the killer confessed to authorities herself that her double life as a deranged murderer came to life. So let's hear a little bit about her, because this is, I'm going to go ahead. Let me go ahead and do this. I don't normally do this, but I just want to kind of show the picture. So you can see. So this is her picture. So you kind of know who we're talking about. And I'm showing it because I'm saying she doesn't look like the typical person that you think of as a serial killer, right? So, Wettlaufer was born into a very controlling religious family on June 10th, 1967, in Zora Township, a rural community near Woodstock in Ontario. It says she studied religious education, counseling at London Baptist College before she went to earning her nursing degree at Conestoga College. On paper, Wettlaufer was a caring individual when she first hired at Carison Care in 2007, a long-term care home in Woodstock. But the mental health of the nurse, who was earning $60,000 or about 45 pounds a year, soon spiraled as she struggled with alcoholism and drug abuse. Wettlaufer routinely turned up for work drunk or missed shifts entirely. She struck up a friendship with a woman she'd met online, and when her husband Donnie found out about the affair, he left her. In 2014, Wettlaufer was fired after she gave the wrong medication to a patient. Little did anyone know at that point just how dangerous she truly was. After leaving her care home job, Wettlaufer had stints in rehab and several temp jobs, one of which she was fired from after stealing medication. During this time, Wettlaufer started to write strange poetry. In September 2016, Wettlaufer gave her Jack Russell dog Nashville to a friend and entered inpatient drug rehabilitation program. Here she confessed to staff that she had killed or attempted to kill several of her patients. She handwrote a list with several names and dates. Soon a horrific story started to unravel. Police discovered that several deaths of the patients at Carison Care, thought to have been natural, were actually caused by the nurse meant to protect them. Wettlaufer had snuck into the facility's medicine stores and inserted insulin into what's known as an insulin pen, typically used to treat someone with diabetes. The killer nurse would load up the pen with huge doses and jam it into the bodies of elderly patients, which caused hypoglycemic shock, causing blood sugar levels to crash. So I'm like, this story. There's a lot to this story. Okay, a lot to the story. So one of her victims happened to be 84-year-old James Silcox, a World War II vet and father of six, who died in 2007. It also includes Gladys Millard, 87, Helen Matheson, 95, Mary Zerwinski, 96, Helen Young, 90, Maureen Pickering, 79. And it says her killing spree lasted until 2016. In some instances, death was quick after vital organs shut down and blood circulation faltered, and others, the victims fell into comas for several days before dying. So there is a lot. This is a very large, detailed story. There's a lot in here. So I'm just going to say, you need to follow up with the story and find out what's going on. So right now, she was held at the Grand Valley Institution for Women in Ontario after her trial in 2017. In March of 2018, she was moved to an unspecified secure facility in Montreal to receive medical treatment. Yeah, it's incredible, this story. I hadn't heard of this, and so if you have more information about this story and any updates, just let me know. But I just thought this was just so bizarre. Okay. All right. So that is it for our stories. We're going to end it there. I think that's quite enough for today, don't you? I don't think there's anything else we have. No, there's nothing else we have. Just to let you know, if we have any nurses making a difference, please feel free to share that with me, because I always like to share that with people if we have nurses that are making a difference. And then also just a quick reminder about some things that are coming up. Don't forget, today is our Munch and Mingle at Scampy's with our local Anderson Alignable that starts at 6:30. And we have CPR class starting in October that you can schedule for that. Go to the nursesharkacademy.biz. And then we also have a special event for the Nurse Shark Academy. And that will be coming up at the end of the month. I'm sorry, losing my train of thought there. On the 25th, we have Nurses Protect Your License. And we're going to talk about ways that nurses can protect your license from identity theft and other measures that you can take to stay safe. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.